everyone, to the LEC studio. Glad that you are still here. We appreciate you. The race for playoffs is heating up, and our next matchup between Fnatic and XL is crucial for both of them and the teams around them, because Misfits won earlier today and are now holding that last playoff spot. So we're going to talk about your favorite team, Casual, Fnatic.
Okay, good one. No, good one, yeah. So
Bamboozled. No, we're going to talk about XL.
We're going to talk about XL. So yeah, XL, I mean, the thing is, Misfits have a win over them now, right? So winning this game is crucial. And you look at XL's strength of schedule, it doesn't get any easier at all.
Sorry. You said, no, you're quite right. It is a difficult path forwards. In their final week, they're going up against some of the best teams that we do have in the LEC, and they were in a similar position last split. Casual, you can speak firsthand to that, having to go up against, I think it was Origin, G2, and I think it was Fnatic in the final weekend.
The thing is, I think we had 7 wins going into the last weekend, so we thought that we could make it. We had 3 games left: Origin, Fnatic, G2. We beat Origin. 8 wins. We thought we'd make it. We didn't. XL now are on 5 wins right now.
Yes.
And they've still got Fnatic, and next week they've got G2 Rogue.
Yeah.
So they really, really, really need to pick up a win or an upset against these teams, because they have got Vitality on the schedule, and they've got Schalke, which in theory you could argue are winnable games, but based on the strength of schedule, they need to upset someone.
And it's actually so shocking, because a couple of weeks ago, they were on a winning streak, and we were talking about how they were for sure going to make it. This was the best we had ever seen them play as an organization. But what happened since then? And what will be the key to locking that playoff spot for
Well,
XL?
last week, we saw a slight shift in their approach to the game. We saw slightly more aggressive bot side of the map, and it seemed like that this kind of rely on late game scaling strategy was just not one that they could rely upon, because a lot of it is also the enemy team needs to not know how to snowball through the early game, which it seems to me like many teams in Europe are getting better and better and better at. So having changed up their strategy, they didn't find any success with it last week, so we'll have to see what they come in prepared coming into this week.
Yeah, XL are quite confusing. You could see them come out the gates with the late game, then they went to try to play early game and that failed, and then they tried to play more teamfight orientated comps, and yes, last weekend XL finally got a gold lead. They had a 2k gold lead of 15, they were outscaling, and they had a better team fight comp.
First turret.
And they got their first turret in week 6. They finally got their first turret. And then it came to the team fights, and they just fell apart. They had a team fight comp. They were ahead in gold. Everything was check marked. Just the one thing was the team fights. They lost them, and everything fell apart. So it did work for them. This kind of scaling team fight oriented comp, playing for objectives. I think XL is not a very aggressive team. They're not going to dive you, probably not going to gank you. They're probably going to try and get Drakes and fight you in team fights, but it's the team fights they need to nail.
Team fights and play for that comfort and get that playoff spot, in contrast to Fnatic. XL is, of course, the team, the organization that has never made the playoffs in the LEC, but Fnatic have made every single playoffs, even when we weren't even the LEC yet. Yes, if you can believe it. So then, what about Fnatic? Because they started off strong, then they had some pop-off performances of the individual members as well. But yesterday was, last week rather, was such a wake-up call versus G2.
Yeah, I think that what we saw was some of Bwipo's picks don't always work out. There are ways to manage and deal with that top lane strategist. However, I think that we continue to see some of the domination that we've been consistently seeing from the bot lane 2 versus 2. And I do like that from the regular season, we've seen a completely different identity to Fnatic, but now I want to see control. As we get closer to playoffs, I need to see a more refined Fnatic, a little bit more limits on their limits testing, and hopefully they can have a stronger, cleaner performance as we get closer to playoffs.
The production team with the shade, though, are like, okay, what do they need? And they just show the Reckless video.
You hate to see it.
You hate to see it. You had a final note?
Yeah, basically, the only thing I can think about this matchup is, like you said, Fnatic are a controlled team. They were so aggressive. Their win condition is definitely their bot lane, which has been popping off. But for XL, it's comfort. Just play something that they've been working in scrims, something they're comfortable on, maybe even one of the pocket picks if they want to pull it out, because this has to be an upset, and this has to be a win for XL in this race for playoffs.
All right, well, Fnatic can still secure a spot in the top 4, while XL are fighting just to stay alive in the race for playoffs.
Thank you very much, Shocks. Welcome back to the Caster Desk. I'm Quickshot, he's Ender, and I want to play a quick mini-game before we jump into picks and bans. I'm going to show you a screenshot in a moment, and I'm going to ask you to spam in chat, real or fake.
Okay,
now,
okay.
The test here is how much attention are you paying at home? How many games have you watched from XL, and were you just listening to that Analyst Desk segment? Let's take a look at the screenshot and tell me if you think it's real or fake. XL
Has science gone too far?
Picking up the first turret of a game.
That's like a 1900 gold lead. That's 2 Dre. You know, like, I don't really want to spoil it for the people at home here, but XL's early games have not been the hottest in the LEC. This is also against SK, who are looking real good. They were on a win streak too. I feel like it's got to be fake.
I think so too. I think so too. We'll find out what you think and then reveal the answer in-game. We're about to jump into Fnatic versus XL. The stakes are high for the playoffs. A team that's never made playoffs versus a team that's never missed them. I absolutely love. It gets nice and chill for game 5, but that's because we're casting. There's not a whole lot.
Yeah, no, we're a really low energy duo. You know, we really try to keep it on the low down. You know, calm. That's how you describe us.
I'll try my best to be calm, but I've never succeeded in all my years. And
we're the yelly guys.
Which one of these teams will fix more problems? I think XL are a team that, let's be honest, expectations preseason and over the years has kind of put them in this position where they're close to playoffs, so tantalizingly close. But Fnatic have swung between impressive and terrible so frequently that I don't know what to think.
No, honestly, XL in 7th are giving TL in 4th a strong run for their money on that one. Actually, I'm pretty interested to see how Fnatic are starting off this draft. 2 of these farming junglers denied away from Dan. Dan, the type of guy not to get super involved in the early game, and we all, we meme about it. XL are very, very slow, but typically he's just power clearing through his jungle, and now 2 of the best champions at doing that have been removed by Fnatic, so I really like that angle of attack for them early on in draft.
Throughout today, we've seen a lot of priority on the bot laners and the AD carries in particular, several first picks, in fact, and I'm wondering if that trend continues. Czekolad's going for the blind Azir. Insta-lock nearly here.
we had Deficio on the show last week. He's like, guys, XL been found out. You just ban Azir and it's lost. So honestly, not surprised at all to see when it's left open. Czekolad just instantly locked that in. But Nisqy's got to have something ready. I'll say it. I kind of like the Zoe. Nisqy, big Zoe fan over when he was in NA. I remember that champion popping up. Hasn't been too popular here in Europe, but has been one very good matchup into that Azir.
Okay, Nisqy, definitely a champion I associate with him, especially from his days in the LCS, but he played it here in Europe, on European soil, before he moved over as well. And I just took a quick look. Czekolad, 3 games played on the Azir, 100% win ratio thus far. So Fnatic giving him a huge comfort pick, but is it intentional? Do they have an answer? Center Tom Kench for Upset and Hylissang, the farm Kench lane, as we've come to see, and that will be a Hecarim.
And that'll be a first for Fnatic in both of those roles. First Senna for Upset, first Tom Kench for Hylissang. This split, to be fair, definitely have played those champions in the past. But now XL just rounding it out with some hard engage, some secondary follow-up with that Gnar, but I feel like whenever I see this Senna Tom Kench combination, it just feels so near unbeatable. The scaling range into later stages of the game makes it so hard for Hecarim to even get close to. He's a fast guy, but you're going to get autoed 3 times before you even go in there for the CC, and the Azir can struggle with that later too.
And something that's important to recognize is that XL as a team have not been super proactive in the early game throughout 2021. And if they want to go late, Senna's arguably one of the best champions at going late. And we've seen that time and time again here in Europe. Selfmade will get his Graves. This will be the 4th time that we've seen that in his hands. He's picked up 2 wins already. And Selfmade, when he's on one of these big playmaking, aggressive damage-dealing champions, I love to see it. You tend to see Nisqy playing a little bit more of a supportive role because Selfmade's one of the carries of the team.
Look, Selfmade was, I think, our first jungler last summer that started getting on the farming jungle hype train. He was playing Graves in week 2, week 3, and other junglers weren't picking that up until 2nd week of playoffs even. So this is definitely one that's been in his wheelhouse. I remember that Graves with Soraka in the bot lane. Senna does some similar things there in terms of the healing, pumps out just a little bit more damage, I want to say.
It really does. And now we need to see what bot laners XL want to run. Rel will find herself banned away, Sion as well. And when we look at this Fnatic composition, Bwipo and Nisqy need to lock in their picks. You assume something AP, probably from the mid lane here for Nisqy, but Bwipo, frontline, tank, Riven. Bwipo's been
Whatever
very
he wants,
bold.
man.
Very, very bold. You know, last week against G2, he pulled out the Yone. It didn't work out, but we've seen the Riven that did. And I do like the fact that Bwipo and the Fnatic roster are a little bit more willing to try things out and be a little bit more bold in what they're trying, but it hasn't found as much success as the Fnatic fans would want.
Bwipo especially has all those interesting picks, and I think it's pretty smart from XL to remove the Scion, because looking at Fnatic's composition, it is lacking Engage and the front line to back up the rest of Fnatic here. So something like a Scion, the Malphite, both have been banned away, would be solid for Fnatic. I mean, even Bwipo's played that Ornn if he wanted to go that direction, but I would be more expecting some sort of bruiser up in the top lane. I think would fit his wheelhouse.
Bwipo likes to kill champions. That is exactly what he said. And ding, 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 correct prediction on the Zoe there. Nisqy all-time in the LEC and the LCS has 20 wins and 10 losses. Over in NA, 13-6. And here, 7-4 if you break those out. So definitely high mastery, high skill, and I think it will definitely benefit this pick options as we now see an Ashe and a Lulu.
Now, guys, if you're an XL fan, you're like, what? Lulu top it's back? No, this is actually going to be down to the support. Kryze did play that, I think in week 1 or 2, played that very early, but this is a really interesting combination here. Of course, Ashe very oppressive inside the laning phase. A Lulu, a range support into a Senna Tahm Kench can definitely get you priority over that bottom lane. And I mean, even the speed up synergizes very well with a Hecarim later on into this. So we'll dive into that a little bit more later into the game. I love this answer. GP5 for Bwipo has a good matchup up against the Gnar in the top lane, and that ultimate is the hard counter to the Ashe and the Lulu in the bottom side of the map. They're constantly trying to pressure forward. Well, that ulti, that huge slow CC, sets up very nicely for the rest of Fnatic to charge them down.
One thing I do see is a lack of primary engage tools here from Fnatic. We can rely on the Cannon Barrage and
that's
Sleepy
pretty
Trouble
much it.
Bubble, right?
Yeah. The Cannon Barrage is pretty much the only answer, and that's the weakness in the Fnatic comp, is that frontline hard engage is not there, but they have the range, the poke, all these tools as well to make so that, well, XL are probably going to eventually take the fight to them, or otherwise they just get poked out of their minds.
I do like the initiation tools from XL. Can they pick up a win against a struggling Fnatic? And as we hit the rift, XL the first ones to move. Flash already blown by Upset as a 4-man stack from XL will push forward. Hylissang, we get a small heal here from Upset, goes all the way back to his tower and very crucially holds on to his flash.
Build some swiftness boots, guys. It's going to be a game of slows here. You got Gnar for slows, Ashe, Lulu. It is very frustrating, and that, of course, is going to mean that if Fnatic step too far forward inside the lane, they can be punished pretty easily. I do think, though, that Fnatic's bot side is going to take it a little bit more passively against the double range, so that it's going to be pretty hard to deal with. And the best thing for XL there, getting the flash, also getting some extra money on Torre, stacking up that Spell Thieves.
It doesn't matter the year, the meta, the team, the players. Young Buck will always have level ones. Will always have level ones. This time around, it does pay off. And as we were taking a look, was that Spell Thief you were pointing at there?
Yeah, I was saying he got 3 potions down there in the bot side. He's cheating just a little bit on that Lulu with the extra money. He's able to put in the bank off the extra hits he got off against Upset and Hylissang. You notice Hylissang, of course, is going to be rocking the teleport on the farm Kench down here. He's going to be taking all the CS, and no flash on Upset will mean that Upset will just naturally get less souls. He will not be trading as effectively, as aggressively inside the lane. He does get one right there, but you can see the constant harassment going on back there. An extra soul, so maybe I spoke too soon.
I mean, Torre and Patrik are signaling how they want to play this lane. Obviously, the Lulu into the Tahm Kench will make this very difficult matchup for Fnatic. Just interesting tidbit, this is Torre's second ever professional Lulu. The last time he played it was actually against Fnatic back in 2019, and it was a loss, just so you're aware. Now, this time around, they are pushing, and I want to take a look at the lanes for the time being. Bwipo is pushing into Kryze, and Kryze is starting to fall back in the mid lane is pretty much about even. But I'm very interested to see who will be able to get an advantage, because both of these sides have got such great options for scaling and playing into the mid and late game.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I feel like Fnatic will likely just take this early game very slow. It sort of fits into the Selfmade style of just blitzing through his own jungle. He doesn't really have any lanes to play around. Like, even though top lane's trading pretty aggressively, it's hard to gank there. Bot lane, you can see, has to pop the flash very early on. That's going to be rough. They've got Biscuits down there, so they can hope to sustain on through. And remember, Hylissang does have that TP, so barring some all-in in the next minute or so, should be able to either sustain up or go back to base and quickly get back onto the map with that.
We're going to expect Patrik on the Ashe to have an earlier impact on this game, but needs to help XL pull an advantage, I think, as we know what Senna can do and Gangplank can do as the game scales. I do have a quick update for you. Just before we started Picks and Bans, we asked all people at home whether or not that image was real or fake. And the majority of you said it was fake.
You guys, it was real. They said it on the analyst desk.
They did, and the reason so many people believed that it was fake was because for 12 games in a row, XL were unable to pick up the Tower First Blood bonus, and they managed to do that for the first time.
Trevor, they've got a 100 gold lead. That's 0.1k.
That's a little early, early.
Okay, sorry, my bad.
But I will get excited if Patrik and Tori can keep pushing this advantage and maybe bully Upset and Hylissang. I think delaying the inevitable power of late game Senna is going to be hugely important.
Oh man, Upset already taking a really rough trade there. Still double combat sums on Patrik and Tori, but very low on mana. So they're very likely going to go back to base here. They could try to hit the turret plate, go for that one themselves. They actually are pinging out exactly where Selfmade is on the map. So that's why they feel so emboldened to step forward. It is that deep ward placed down just a little bit earlier into this game to allow them to cash in on a little bit of extra money and feel pretty safe about it too.
Look at this. The threat of the Tahm Kench at level 3 stepping all the way forward. If he's able to get that Devour off with all the damage, Upset can just hammer away, and healing will help out. Hylissang has backed and TP'd to lane already.
Let's see what Selfmade wants to do. Of course, he walked through the river, is seen by Dan, will ward. They both see each other. Nisqy has an extra barrier. He's taken over to the fight. Very low mana on Czekolad here, and the rotation is coming out from Tori, so Selfmade's going to have to walk away.
Selfmade's got the flash available, and is going to throw that down already. Teleport now being used in the mid lane as Kryze will join the fray. Hops forward, boomerang, first blood to XL. Turns the attention over to Nisqy, and he's forced to flash for his life. XL strike first.
That's a great play there from XL. They see Selfmade on the Raptors. They instantly call from the TP2, and even if they don't get a kill there, that TP, not so bad. Lose a couple of minions, but he was getting back onto the map anyways off of a reset. I really like this move, and Tori leaving lane first as well, using that bot lane priority. They also have the Scuttle Crabs. They're going to speed on through here, no problem. And, well, just a little bit unfortunate there, even with the flash, the Nimbus Cloak to try and get out. Tori pops over the wall, hits him with the little flying Poro thing, and a toy boomerang.
That's what sends you.
And that's what kills a giant robot mech warlord.
Now, I'm going to let you get excited, Ender. 500 gold advantage. XL's level 1 play unlocked the ability for Tori to leave the lane and then make this, assist in the mid lane. But the thing I want to get to with all this, long-windedness is the fact that XL are being proactive in the early game. XL are using their advantages appropriately, and they've got themselves a small lead. But they need to maintain this as Upset and Hylissang. They do not care. They keep threatening the 2v2 engage.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the minimap. There was mid-prio from Nisqy, but he has no mana. Fnatic were considering maybe walking 4 players down towards the bot side to try and deny this giant minion wave that had been stacking up. But of course, have to turn around once they realize Nisqy's not in the area. And now Dan has free reign over the topside jungle. He's going to be able to walk on in with Czekolad's priority, take a Raptor camp, and maybe set up a little bit of a trap here. Still no level 6 from Dan, but with the red buff respawning in just 15 seconds, XL are on the chase here for Bwipo.
I mean, Czekolad with the Emperor's Divide can do a lot of work. Bwipo just clears out the minion wave as quickly as possible. 2 tower shots into Kryze already. The Emperor's Divide will throw Bwipo backwards, but he's done a lot to prevent the dive from working. And one last parlay will not kill Dan, but he survives. Kill the minions, survive long enough, and now all of a sudden, Selfmade's coming for the fray. He's got no collateral damage available to him, and XL get away with that one.
Oh, he's just 1 camp away from level 6. If he has the Raptors, well, that's a very different story. He's going to walk in for an invade himself, but XL with a very bold tower dive on the top side of the map. Bwipo played it very nicely to stay alive, but now there's no cannon barrage. There could be a fight.
There is indeed. The Devour comes out. That buys time for Upset to back away. Consumables are plenty still in the bottom lane with biscuits and potions, so Fnatic sitting pretty for the time being. 58 creeps for Patrik to 41 for Hylissang. Can we take a look at the gold just very quickly to compare where they're at? So 4,000 total gold for Upset in Hylissang to 4,900 for Patrik and Tori. That's a significant advantage in the bottom lane.
It's going to be very nice for them, of course, and I think the critical thing coming out of that top lane play, well, Selfmade does get a lot of farm on that top side jungle, but no global ultimate from Bwipo opens up playmaking around bottom lane because Patrik, Tori, they're going to be level 6 very, very shortly.
Oh, keep holding my breath, waiting for that level to ding. Not going to happen just yet. There it is. Patrik, Enchanted Crystal Arrow goes out. The volley. But Hylissang's underneath the tower.
There's a fight in mid lane too.
Tori's in trouble. He's below 200. The Devour comes up and it's Upset with the final hit. Hylissang goes down thanks to the Ancient's volley. And it ends up being a 2-for-1 in favor of Fnatic. I didn't see the fight in the middle lane, but now Dan is caught out. He gets bopped backwards by Selfmade. Ghost is available, but no ultimate yet.
No, it's so rough. A good bubble through the wall from Nisqy. It's see ya later. Good night. Dan has nowhere to go, stuck between all these towers, and it's going to be Nisqy to find this kill in the end. Big kill going over to the Fnatic mid laner, and that's off of a bot lane 2v2 victory as well. It felt like XL had the pressure on the map, but they were splitting their calls. Dan wanted to invade, Czekolad wanted to push mid, and the bot lane, they were going for the fight, and they lost in every single place.
You have to call out some of the execution. The dive top, 3-on-1 whiffs, and good counterplay from Bwipo, right? Give him credit there. Then on the bottom lane, as soon as Patrik hit 6, Hylissang and Upset were able to back away, and I think that's just the end of the play.
Yeah, it's after the arrow already got popped, and the important thing was that Hylissang got his shield off before the arrow CC'd him. And then Upset's like, well, you just got taken very low. I'll easily pick up that kill on you. There was also that fight in the mid lane that Czekolad had to disengage himself from, so what was a strong early game from XL, getting a flash at level 1, punishing Selfmade on the invade, has now turned into a failed top lane dive that cost them a lot of tempo inside of the jungle, and then a failed 2v2 on the bottom side too that translated into 3 kills to Fnatic.
And 1,000 gold lead as we're about to hit 10 minutes. Those opening minutes of play completely forgotten about, and despite Hylissang taking a beating, as soon as that tongue lash is on cooldown, Patrik and Tori realize they've got a window of opportunity to step forward. They have to respect the damage. Upset getting 2 kills from that previous play and now chasing forward. Cannon Barrage is available. Wild Growth will buy some time. Crystal Arrow is simply not important, and Patrik manages to turn the damage around.
Dan.
Upset and Hylissang, they couldn't get to Patrik quickly enough. And they do survive for the time being.
They will walk this one out. It's going to be all right from Tori. They had to use all their ultimates down towards the bottom side of the map. At the same time, Selfmade's like, guys, no, trust me. I'm not going to gank. I'm just going to take every single objective off the map. A good counter map play there from Selfmade. They get spotted out at just the final moment. And you saw right there how vulnerable Tori and Patrik can be down here, because if they're not playing from an advantage state, if they don't have, you know, the lead down here, well, all of a sudden these chain slows make it so hard to play against. A super beefy Tahm Kench runs at you, you're never going to have the damage to cut through him, and he's always going to be able to chase you down because of the nature of this 2v2, and XL always being pushed fully forward in the lane.
For the time being, the Wild Growth was enough to at least survive the engage. But it does get a little scary if you think, what if Graves is around? What if Nisqy's around?
Exactly.
So Patrik and Tori have to play very, very respectfully, need to make sure that Hylissang can never get close enough to impact. What you're seeing right now is the levels on your screen for the time being. No real surprises as both top laners just continue to farm up. They're dead even as far as CS is concerned, and Bwipo has fended off pressure and he supported the bottom lane, but frankly, that's all you need from a Gangplank. He's got himself an Essence Reaver already and is working towards, you know, a late game impact. It's his Cannon Barrage that's going to be crucial around these skirmishes in the next 10.
Exactly, that's the only real engage threat, right? Outside of a bubble over a wall. And I'm really curious to see what item he's working towards next, because I'm a big fan tuning into Bwipo's streams, and I saw him on the GP running an Essence Reaver into Duskblade build. And there's a lot of squishy members over on the XL side, so we'll hold our breath, see where he ends up going with that one. Bore straight into the bot lane.
Wild Growth will buy some time, no Cannon Barrage available, and the Ash Arrow will connect onto Graves. Devour comes up, buys some time, flash over the wall from Selfmade. Czekolad arrives with the teleports, and now Nisqy needs to find some targets. Will not be able to find anything with the Paddle Star, and the slide and glide gets Czekolad to safety, so XL get a clean kill.
That Paddle Star would have been huge if it had connected. XL, though, like you said, get the kill and get out no problem. Flash had to be used by Selfmade at just the final moment there as well. So XL, you see the hard engage tools, the arrow plus that Hecarim. They can catch Fnatic off guard. Again, Fnatic's composition highly vulnerable to these super engaged targets outside of that Tahm Kench. If you can find a fight where Tahm isn't around, well, it's looking very good for XL. And you can see even when he's in the thick of things, if he's stuck in the wrong place, he's going to go down and pay for his team's sins.
It's part of me that is falling more in love with the idea of Duskblade GP. When you look at how that fight plays out, and if Bwipo is able to get one barrel, one parlay onto a target, the wild growth is not going to save everybody. And Hylissang, the impact he can have with that Devour could be huge. We'll see which direction Fnatic decides to go as the first tower is being hammered in the middle lane.
Look at mid lane, the gold between the two players, 750 just about, it seems, for Nisqy. And this is a champion. I actually think I was looking at it. You'll correct me, you're the stats guy. I think it's his most played champion all time. He played so much of it over North America when I was checking him out, and I just know that he loves this one. So with that gold, he's already been able to get that big lead over Czekolad in the counter matchup. It's definitely going to be up to him. He's the big playmaker, I feel like, for Fnatic in this mid game, and fully utilizing that range poke advantage to find picks, to find big damage, and convert into pressure for Fnatic.
Confirming that all time it is his most played by a significant margin.
I knew that's a quick stat. I did the thing.
I mean, it's the champion you resonate with him. You think about it. I'm exceptionally proud. It makes sense. And also, in this game, it was the right pick into Czekolad's Azir. It hasn't had a huge impact during the laning phase, but it doesn't really matter if he's able to find these picks in the later game. I do want to, while we're on a little side tangent, just remind everybody of the standings and the fact that, you know, Schalke just lost a game, Misfits just won a game. So for XL, if they drop this game now, then they are going to be in a lot of trouble when you start looking to playoffs. As Torre will once again start an initiation. Let's get rid of that graphic.
Get it out of there.
There we go.
Get it off your screen and no problem. But I mean, honestly, it puts us in a position where if XL were to walk away with victory, like all of a sudden, I thought this was a race for 6th place, but it completely opens up other possibilities with 3 through 6 through 7, 8 being so tight and close.
It really does. And looking at the minimap now, I don't think we've got any potential setup for the time being. So I just want to quickly look at XL's strength of schedule, which I'll have to get up in just a moment. And if you look at the teams that they have to play, for XL, it's so important to try to pick up this win now against Fnatic, who is 2 wins ahead of them in the standings, as well as Schalke.
Yeah, I mean, Vitality just picked up a win against SK, right? It's all of a sudden looking a lot more challenging for XL. After a good start to the season, they figured out their success, and now sleep in mid, chain CC, that's gnarly.
Much damage. The collateral damage is dodged away from, but the cannon barrage comes out. The railgun. You do not need engage when you can just snipe opponents.
Left, right, forward, backward. He can't dodge everything. Czekolad feeling real bad after that one. He thought he got away, but Upset and Bwipo had a little bit more to say about it.
I mean, that was just terrifying and frustrating. And also, it illuminates to me a way that Fnatic can look for a pick before an objective. Just fish for bubbles. Just fish for them. That's all you gotta do.
We just saw a lot of disturbing things. The first one is here, coming out of the sleep, Nisqy throws the paddle star and also jumps forward. And what does that mean? Well, look at that. The Everfrost gets that easy CC, and then the combination of the double globals here. Oh yeah, give us the zoom in. It's like I'm watching Steven Spielberg movie. It's beautiful. Just blast him from across the rift, and this is what we're gonna see again. Because Nisqy's full combo is gonna do, 70, 80% of a lot of the XL targets. And then you just need 1 or 2 globals, and that's a kill every single time. And that is how Fnatic turn a 5v5 into a 5v4 and then convert off of it.
And I think something that's so crucial to call out is that a player like Upset, a player like Selfmade, they're going to be able to hit those skill shots all of the time because it's exactly what they want to be doing. They are players that want to fight. Fnatic are a team that is shown throughout the course of Spring. They just want to get in your face over and over and over. And I'm looking at a potential setup here as Selfmade was stood right on top of a ward, so XL are fully aware of it. And Dan has now come up to support. If you look at the minimap, Nisqy is roaming from the mid lane. Big damage onto Torre. The Ash Arrow catches onto Hylissang. He's feared. He's knocked backwards.
Double
the
TP.
health cannot even be popped. That's the 4th kill of the game for XL. Bwipo arrives to the fight, and Kryze cannot get over the wall. Bwipo's got no flash to escape, but he doesn't need it. Upset over the wall, picks up another kill, and Patrik is bopped down by Selfmade. Nisqy continues to wreak havoc on the XL backline, and Torre's running for his life. The one more shot from Nisqy will take him out. An upset left to close
Czekolad?
out the ace. The support comes in from Selfmade. 5 kills to Fnatic.
What a beautiful fight from Fnatic. You can't point to one single player and say they carried the fight. Everyone showed up where it mattered. And I think it starts with Bwipo. Of course, we zoom all the way back in this one. And it's Hylissang that gets caught away, but at what cost? Let's see all the spells that are thrown on him. Of course, we know it's going to be, the arrow as well as the onslaught of shadows, and then everyone decides to get in the fight. So 2 big initiation ultimates down, and now that Bwipo looks like he's trapped, but look at the time he buys in the middle of 4 people. Huge barrel. That's looking like some kind of World's Barrel G2's experienced at one point or another, but he's able to buy the time and set up for Nisqy and Selfmade to come in and punch out the final kills.
Fantastic team fight from Fnatic. They get themselves a gigantic advantage. They extend that gold lead even further, and we see how this team composition is played from the Fnatic side, right? They're very happy to just go into all of the fight every single time. 4,000 gold or thereabouts, 9 kills to 5. And they're going to set up for the second dragon, this time uncontested. But look at the damage from Bwipo. That barrel just did so much work.
The barrel, the ultimate to zone, and then a couple of punches straight to the face. It is the Dust Blade! It's happening!
Yes, yes, yes!
I love the best part about this is when Gangplank goes invisible in the middle of a team fight. And I don't know why, but I think that is just the most hilarious thing I've ever seen.
I sincerely hope we get to see that on display. And I want to give you just a few more updates. Obviously, we're getting to the business end of the spring season. If you're a Mad Lions fan and Fnatic win this game, Mad Lions will be locked for playoffs. So that's the first little update.
All right.
Now, when you look at the standings and you see 7-6, if Fnatic pick up a win here, they're tied with SK. 8-6, they're close to Mad Lions. I think we've got a moment or two. And then we start looking at Fnatic's strength of schedule. Playing Misfits, playing Schalke, and then SK. Those are 3 huge, huge wins for seeding going into playoffs.
Yeah, it feels like the game against SK is who's higher in the standings between the two. And then Schalke Misfits, which one of those 2 teams is making the playoffs, barring XL, the other team that is definitely in that race for the final spot here. And we get to close out on a fun one. Little Rogue versus Fnatic. So those are all going to be good. Selfmade going to get polymorphed and pop out of the Raptor camp. But look at this, Fnatic, so much deep vision setting up for the jungle invades for any sort of fight they want to find. And you'll have to keep your eye on Nisqy looking for these bubbles. That time there's a minion in the way of it all, but the way he can get around the Fog 4 and find those max range abilities is how Fnatic blow this game wide open.
Well, let's take a look at the minimap and how they do that. With 2 towers down, the top outer is still standing for XL. Obviously, under a tower, under the minions, it's going to be significantly more difficult for Fnatic to make this composition work. We're 3 minutes away from the next dragon. There's a Baron that, while alive, they don't necessarily have the beefiest front line, especially with the Duskblade Gangplank. So if they can bait XL and look for the pick, maybe there's some options, but what would be your preferred way to watch them find those picks and use the abilities that they have?
Well, I think it's pretty much the way we've seen them play here. Again, it's about using your pressure through lanes to get deep vision. I think that top lane outer turret is probably the next mark on the map for Fnatic to break away, because once Fnatic get the Baron buff, the game ends. I don't think there's any way for XL to counter just the ruthless siege that Fnatic are going to have, so it's all about the vision setup to get them into that position.
Oh, talking about the ruthless siege, can we do a Senna check-in? While we see the engage,
Boom!
The railgun, the cannon barrage, and Hylissang on the back line. He just takes an abysmal voyage. Patrik gets a lot of damage onto Nisqy, but frankly, there's too many Fnatic members to deal with. They find themselves a pick, and now they're looking for an inner turret.
And I got your number there, bottom left corner of your screen, 93 souls on that center. That range is getting big, but that's not the focus here for Fnatic. The Baron, however, it is. Patrik is dead for 20 seconds. Czekolad is seen on the top end of the fight, and it's his flank that can make or break this one for XL.
This might just be the longest range pick comp I have ever seen. It's a discussion I will have after this advance.
No.
Czekolad gets in some trouble, forced to flash over the wall. Uses the Sand Soldiers perfectly to scale the next
Nisqy!
two. Nisqy stolen a flash. Not going to find the Sleepy Trouble Bubble this time round. Hylissang flashes himself over the wall. And the barrels plus an invisible gangplank will pick up yet another kill.
If at first you don't succeed, try, flash, tongue lash, everything again, and you're gonna get the kill. Czekolad falls. Fnatic have the Baron. And again, this composition is near untouchable with the Baron buff. You see the long-range bubbles into the instant globals. You got a Senna ult. You got Hylissang pouring into the thick of things on top of the cannon barrage. It's crazy. And still, Patrik somehow lived for quite some time. It doesn't matter, though, at the end of the day. A little cue to the face, a little kiss there from Bwipo was enough to finish off Patrik, and that converted into so much for Fnatic.
And for Fnatic, another composition that they're looking very exciting on, that the itemization from Bwipo still showing creativity in the top lane, even though we've seen gameplay.
I love it.
Zoe for Nisqy, most played champion, pretty much 66% win ratio professionally, like all time. And Upset and Hilly showing they can play this Tahm Kench Senna perfectly, even losing flash at level 1. Upset will get devoured and now get dove on. Defensive flash away. Dan is now a little bit too deep. The cannon barrage is interrupting any further follow-up. Kryze is on the back line, but he needs so much time to gnaw out. He's just a mini gnaw. He's so small and cute, and he's being run down by Fnatic members. The cannon barrage prevented any further follow-up, but Patrik and Tori are not done. They turn their attention to Hylissang, Czekolad, and Dan go forward. The Onslaught of Shadows has already been used. Bwipo gets almost killed, but he survives. Kryze is about to mega gnaw out. This could be huge as Fnatic are
Patrik's
split.
flashing in!
Nobody's dead just yet. Patrik looking for the kill, but he simply can't find it. Hylissang escapes with the ultimate, taking Bwipo to safety, and now all of a sudden it's Fnatic looking for a pick.
What's going on, Trevor? It's absolute
idea.
chaos. Every ultimate gone, every summoner spell. There's a dragon still to fight over, and Hylissang wants in.
Upset's gonna get another ultimate off, and Nisqy will find the sleep onto Dan. That is the 12th kill.
Selfmade on the flank, Selfmade.
And Selfmade can dash over the wall. He's got the quick draw, he's got the end of the line, and he gets the last auto for the kill. Kryze finally gnaws out, but it doesn't matter. It's too little, it's too late, and Fnatic find 2 kills in one of the most interesting team fights I have ever seen.
I think it was like 4 or 5 different team fights thrown in. I feel almost lied to that we only got 2 kills out of all of that chaos. Just complete madness took over the rift there.
I'm so happy that we did, though, because, you know, like, it doesn't matter how many years I've been watching this game, this team composition from Fnatic surprises me, and I'm going to classify it as a pick comp. I think the way they're playing it is definitely leaning in that direction.
Yeah.
And then when you see the team fights and the interesting decisions, shall we say, it is just a lot of fun, and XL are trying so hard to get to Fnatic, but they can't because of the range and the tools and the zoning.
Look, Fnatic's comp is like one of my favorite styles of comps in the game because it's all about like super long range. You have no real hard engage. It's a bunch of soft engage. Takes you back to like SKT 2015. It's like Rumble was the only way to start off a fight, and it's just about punching you from a million miles away. Fnatic have landed haymaker after haymaker.
I mean, especially when you think back to the first kill into Czekolad. Like, Cannon Barrage, Nisqy's Bubble, Upset from bottom lane, literally all 3 lanes firing skill shots at Azir, which, by the way, was first picked here for XL. The pick did not work out. Nisqy had the Zoe. It was not banned away. He's 2-0-6. This is an important win for Fnatic. They are very likely to make playoffs with the win-loss and the fact that XL and Schalke are, you know, a few wins behind them.
Yeah.
But what is, again, crucially important, and something that we talked about in the G2 Road game, is now you're starting to set up your form and set expectations for playoffs. What are the teams going to look like?
Patrik's just frontlining.
Very far forward, eats a barrel. It's the summoner heal as well. Kryze is still trying to build up, and Nisqy is making his way from the blue buff. Both teams have swapped sides, and Fnatic are going to say, yeah,
are we just going to base race it? I don't know about this one, XL. They're just going to push down mid lane. Give us the split screen. Give us everything. I love it. Both teams at the same pace in this one. Honestly, XL, full commit to the race. You're losing anyway. Go for the Nexus.
I think XL were actually behind, but they managed to
the
pull
Cannon
ahead.
Barrage!
The Cannon Barrage will kill the minions. That is gigantic for Bwipo and for Fnatic. Dan and the rest of the XL members are trying to recall. Nexus turret number 1 is down. The minions
Dan
are still
can't
alive.
recall the
Czekolad
minions!
cannot get into the Fnatic members, and Fnatic take down XL.
Oh my god! What was this game?
The cannon barrage to kill the minions is something that ultimately is so simple, but in the heat of the moment, you forget about it. In the heat of the moment, XL make a call. I think had Cannon Mirage been on cooldown, they may have been able to win the race. They started
It would have been close.
at their inner mid turret, and they made it to inhib at the same time as Fnatic.
Look, XL, they knew they were losing the game. It's one of those situations where you can try to go for one last team fight, or you can just do that flip of a coin. And it turned up tails for XL this time around, but what a game. I mean, honestly, I was entertained. The fights nonstop, that one fight that lasted a near eternity. But it is Fnatic to come away with the win, continue on their march towards the postseason.
I mean, beautiful composition from Fnatic. I love the way they executed it. I think they played it like a pick comp. I definitely want to discuss that one and see, is that something that can work?
That was a fun comp.
That
was a fun comp. That's what that was.
Can that work against a team like Rogue? You know, controlled, maybe slower in lane, etc., right? Can you use that style to unseat them? Nominees for Key Player of the Game at LEC on Twitter: Bwipo, Nisqy, and Upset. And now this sets us up for tomorrow, the Fnatic versus SK game. Both teams at 8 wins. Fnatic at 6 losses, SK at 6 losses. We'll soon hear from Bwipo before Crownshot joins us in the post-game lobby. Don't go anywhere.
White people happy!
Playoffs! Playoffs are so exciting!
Systems are overloading. We can't risk another game.
We need to take a break and regroup.
We're starting to lose our mind. Captain, we cannot go back to Elo Hell. Last time it took us months to get out of it.
Initiate break protocol.
Hurry up!
Yes! Yes! I did it! We did it! We did it!
Even the biggest champ needs a break.
Welcome back to the LEC after Fnatic defeats XL as the playoffs race continues. I'm joined by Fnatic's top laner, Bwipo. Bwipo, thank you so much for joining this interview. And okay, I gotta start with this. Tell me all about that crazy ending where both XL and Fnatic were doing the base rates, because that cannon barrage, that was so 500 IQ.
I mean, credits to Hilly, actually. He was just like, don't ult at the tier 2, just drop the tier 2 because it's low HP, and just ult tier 3 and we'll win the base race. So honestly, from our perspective, it seemed like there was no chance we were going to lose it because we had 2 globals, 1 to cancel bases and 1 to clear the wave. So it might have looked crazy, but from our perspective, it was just a really bad play by the enemy team.
And Bwipo, you actually decided to pick Gangplank today. I did see you hover Jace. It is a bit of a divergence from your usual picks, such as Yone and perhaps Riven. Can you tell me more about the Gangplank pick and how it possibly played into Fnatic's, like, you know, poke from the long range, like, you know, opposition?
I mean, I don't think Yone and Riven are usual picks for me, but yeah, I mean, I went to the good old, a little bit of Gangplank. Good old faithful. It's been one of my successful champions, one of my most successful champions of all time since I've been playing in the LEC. So I don't think it hurts to bust him out when he's good. And as soon as I saw Ashe, it was already ringing bells for Gangplank looks good here. And when Lulu got locked in, it was just, it has to be a Gangplank game. Cannon Barrage provides so much value when they're trying to play a front-to-back team fight. Hecarim only really has one mode where he has to dive in, and with Cannon Barrage on top of Azir, Ashe and Lulu, there's no hope for them to follow up in the team fight, so we will always enjoy a very simple and easy game in this particular draft.
And throughout spring, Fnatic has been showing off this very aggressive playstyle, which has been swinging between looking spectacular and perhaps shaky at times. But today, Fnatic almost felt a little more calculated, focusing on the lane phase during the early game, but opening more skirmishes when you built up a lead. Would you agree with that statement? And was it based on Fnatic's comp or team or strategy?
Mm-hmm. I think after level 1 we lost our center flash, so obviously we were trying to be a little bit more cautious, trying to avoid the Hecarim ganks. Generally speaking, Gangplank is quite vulnerable in the early laning phase against champions like Hecarim. If you mess up, you can easily get picked off and get run down in the lane. So obviously I was playing much safer, and then bottom lane without the flash, want to make sure that nothing wrong happens either. And in general in this game, I think we felt super comfortable waiting for Cannon Barrage and Senna's ult to come online, and as soon as we have our globals, I think it's already very difficult for the enemy team to play.
And this has been the narrative of Fnatic throughout spring. You know, Fnatic turned up in the beginning of the season with this bloody playstyle, flashing forward, tower dive, skirmishes, skirmishes every day. Like, we even saw a bit of that with Hylissang teleporting into the mid lane somewhere later in the game. But how did this identity develop? And is this Fnatic's direction as we move into the last third of season?
I think we're just going back to what works for us. A little bit more focus around playing controlled and good League of Legends. I think I especially got ahead of myself with some of the counter picks I prepared. I think that if I just go to the good old fashion picks that I'm known for, I think that's going to provide more than enough for my team, and I don't need to do anything special. This game, for example, I think I pressed ultimate like 4 times and the game ended, and that was basically it. So my team's really good, and providing what they need is more important than providing something that is a bit more extravagant.
Hey, your gameplay is, I would say, flashy enough for us, certainly in this game. Final question, Bwipo. Earlier in the season that you mentioned perhaps after the roster change of Reckless moving to G2, that you need to perhaps step up as the pillar of Fnatic. Would you still say that this statement is true? And what kind of role, not just as a player, but almost as a person within the team, are you playing within Fnatic team?
I mean, I think in a way it's important that every team has someone that can collect everybody, like keep everyone on the same page. Everyone has the same objective in mind. Everyone's playing towards the same goal. And in that way, I do think that it's important that I still fulfill that role. I don't think I need to be the pillar for the team. I think Hilly and Upset have created a great bond and they're playing super well together in the 2v2. So I think from there on, the only thing that matters is that I make sure that Selfmade and our bot lane play on the same page. I think Nisqy is very good at aligning with everybody else once the plan is made. So I think that it's important that I don't disrupt the flow of the team by demanding too many resources, because right now Selfmade's obviously a great player and our bot lane's playing super well 2v2. So as long as we get advantages from these two positions, what's important is that I make sure that they are aligned together and play the game from that point on.
And we'll expect more great performances from you, Bwipo, as well as Fnatic, and best of luck with the rest of the LEC.
Thank you.
Thank you. And after the break, we will be back with post-game lobby with Quickshot. What a great way to tie the day up, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you soon.